Welcome to CMMS Radio, a podcast and general resource for all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, from selection to implementation to help you make better choices and have a successful CMMS journey. We'll bring in experts along the way to help us learn more about CMMS, facilities operations, and much more. If you need help with the CMMS project, send a message at CMMSradio.com using the What's on Your Mind link. Suggest a topic, share your CMMS story, or ask questions. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Today, we are joined by yet another industry expert, a bona fide expert, as I like to say. It's Mark Gonzalez of Wild Pack Beverage. He is an operations and plant management monster. He's joining us to discuss CMMS, maintenance and plant management, and much more. Mark, welcome to CMMS Radio.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. This is so cool.
Yeah, I'm excited that we got you on because you and I have a friend in common, and I'm talking about Brian Bieski, and this is someone, to put it lightly, that gets it. And when we're talking about somebody that gets it, we're talking real, no screwing around, skipping the buzzwords. He's done the work. He's been in the trenches and really stays focused on that. It's all about delivering value. And when he and I were talking about you, he said, we're talking about a whole nother level. And I'm not trying to pump you up. I just want you to know that we're here for a real conversation. And I kind of want to get into your background when it comes to how you got into this big bad world of maintenance, operations, and plant management. So you take us back as far as you want and kind of bring us up to today.
So, I'm a Jersey guy originally. Found my way off to Penn State University, and since I was a kid, I always wanted to be in the military. I think a lot of people say this one. They saw Top Gun and inspired them to join the Navy. So that was my goal. I was going to go to the Naval Academy, become an F-14 pilot. Well, my medical history said otherwise, so I skipped down that opportunity to go to the Naval Academy. Ended up going to Penn State. I love every moment of it. While I was there, decided to join Army ROTC, and because I was going to go to the military regardless if I was going to the Navy or wherever. So I decided the Army, wanted to check it out, and it was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. So when I graduated, I went straight to the military. I was in there for 4 years, and when I signed my contract, it was in 1998. Not a lot going on that time, right? Just the military, day-to-day life, living life, whatever it is. Then that September 11, 2001 happened, and I was already active by then because I got commissioned in 2000, and all of a sudden my life changed. So I ended up going to 10th Mountain Division up in Fort Drum, New York. I was up there for my 4-year stint. I got sent to Afghanistan for 8 months in 2003 to 2004. It was a great experience, really slow there. It wasn't real like war, I would say. And then I got out because the military wanted to send me back again. I was like, I did one. I'm good. So I got out, decided to join, start my civilian life. So I was there, went back to Jersey doing that thing. While I was there with that company, they offered me a chance to go out to California. And I was like, yes, I'm going to go to California. This sounds awesome. I went out there. As soon as I got out there, if you're in the military, you have to do 8 years commitment to active duty. And so I got out after my 4. So I had 4 years of inactive reserve. I got recalled back to the military out of my civilian life. So I had to go back immediately back to the Army. So I got a plane, went to Fort Benning, Georgia, and went back to Afghanistan for another year and change. And that really, really just shaped me up and just really it was a surreal thing. So I was an embedded tactical trainer with the Afghan National Army. So I was out there, me, my sergeant, an interpreter, and basically $25,000 in cash out in Afghanistan with 100 Afghans in my Humvee. And we were out there running combat operations out there. And when I was in active duty, I was a logistics guy. I was a beans and bullets guy. And when I got recalled, I got attached to an infantry unit. And I met some of the greatest guys in my life. I still talk to them to this day. We still interact in some way, shape, or form. But it was just a camaraderie that can't explain. So did my tour, got back, and I went back to my civilian life. And I moved my way up there. I went to various companies. I moved my way up from a supervisor all the way on up to a plant manager. And at first I started off within cars. I moved my way to consumer packaged goods, and then I went to foods. And when I was within foods, I absolutely loved it. And I just wanted to stay within the world of foods. And I've learned so much leadership. And a lot of the leadership that I learned just came through that time in the military. And I know I said in Brian's podcast, but mission first, people always is what drives me. It really taught me to be who I am, the leader I am, and the passion and care I have towards my operators, towards my people, my maintenance team, my quality team, my safety team, every team here. I want to treat them as the most important people because I'm not successful without them. So that came from the military. If I had never gone in the military, I would not be sitting in this spot right now as a plant manager at Wildpack. I would be probably doing something else. My college degree was microbiologist, so I'd be some sort of lab rat doing something else. But just the military got me to where I'm at, and I just love taking that leadership that I learned, and I just have a passion for it and the people, and just inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing every single day.
I love this story for so many different reasons. And what I am always fascinated by is what the military experience really does for the retransitioning back into civilian life. Now, I myself was not in the military. I know a ton of military people as well as related fields. And this same kind of thing seems to come up constantly where the greatest value through these systems, and we, guys like us, we're out here watching the movies, hearing the stories, talking to the people at the coffee shop, the bar, whatever, about their military experiences. I met guys that, were in Vietnam, their helicopter went down, they were the only survivor, and all these different things. But this thing about the people, I asked one of my friends once, tell me what that really is in a nutshell, just very succinctly. And he said, this is it. The guys and gals on your left and on your right are the only thing that matter. And you have to focus in a certain way on what you do because that whole system is set up that way. And it's not system like in a conventional sense. It's very directed. And you also get kind of broken down and rebuilt so that you have these built-in protocols for when you can, I'm going to say in my own terms, like call an audible. Like when everything is run out, at the end of the day, it's keep going. And so what you're doing and what you're talking about is my people are what matter because they're the ones that are going to get me there. I'm not going to get myself there. We are going to get there. Is that the beating heart of what true leadership is in your opinion and experience?
Absolutely. I've seen it in some of my best leaders. Those are the traits that they have. And you can pick up on that. So, the reason Brian and I became as close as we did was because he had that drive and passion towards people and we connected on that same wavelength. A lot of ex-military people, we connect really well just because on that same wavelength, we've all adapted being in, the tough world. I don't know if this is shit, for lack of a better word. And we've been there together and we get what it was. Brian wasn't in the Army. He was in the Navy. It didn't matter if you share a common esprit de corps with that and understand what it is. And everybody's so important to you, whether you're in a base in Afghanistan, whether you're on an aircraft carrier, we're on a Marine base, wherever you're at, you get all that. It's that camaraderie and esprit de corps that you've built together and being that difficult situation that brings you together. Now, a lot of the civilian things we're doing now aren't as difficult, but it's something that you're working together as that common bond. And how do you kind of develop that with the people around you to want to grow up and latch onto you and say, how do I want to follow this guy? Right now, I'm making a beverage. I'm putting liquid into a can for my current job. But at the time when I was in the military, it was nation building, going out with Afghans, doing these things. The job's the same at the end of the day. You're trying to get people to follow you in that leadership. So, as military leaders, we take that with us and people want to follow. So how do we just transition that? So it's a little difficult, obviously, it's a little different when you transition to the civilian world to do it. But I think at the end of the day, the common things that you're doing or what you're trying to drive as your job is what dictates your success.
So when you talk about that, and one of the questions I had written down, this I think is kind of good timing for it. What is your favorite thing about operations management and I'm going to say both building and leading high performing teams?
I think my favorite thing is just watching the growth that happens from the team you've built. I honestly have a great passion towards that. And that is my favorite part. And that is my personal reward and my personal joy. And I've said this before. Every time I get to a new place, I love to talk about that is my personal reward. My previous life was a small company, startup. a lot of opportunity to grow from within. Prior to that, I've had a lot of Fortune 100s, Fortune 500 experience. So their philosophies are a little different. They're more ingrained in what they've done. And the total number of people that I ever watched grow from an hourly or a lower operator to a member of management and higher is very slow, is very low. I could talk about two examples of that when I was in the Fortune 100 companies, Fortune 500. But my previous job where I had the startup, I had 27 people that I got to watch to go from a temp to a team lead to a mechanic to a supervisor to a safety manager to a lab tech, all these higher level roles. That was my passion. I enjoyed that with a absolute passion, just watching all those people grow. And then knowing those people know that you're in their best, helping them with their best interest, they want to follow you now, right? Because I gave them the opportunity. Maybe they didn't come in, they came in, there's 20-year-old people who came in with no experience as a lab tech. Hey, I sense something in you. Give this person a chance. Hey, this guy has no mechanical experience. I want to see him grow. I want to see him the next thing because you know what? He told me he has a passion for it and I could see that passion. I want to see if I can then take it out and see where it goes. And, when I spoke with Brian last time, we had the example of that individual. That person was just they started as a temp. They moved on up. And it was just such I love that stuff. That is where my passion is, just watching that and watching him grow. And probably one of the best mechanics they got. And that guy's killing it over there. And I love that.
Yeah, this is awesome because I'm always talking about like kind of the old school approach when the teenager or maybe he's a man, he's 18, 20, 22, whatever, and he walks into a place because he saw a help wanted sign. And of course now we do all that stuff on the internet and all this, but what's really interesting then and what I like about what you said and the reason I'm kind of geeking out on it is when you recognize potential and you try to cultivate it and it starts happening, that's incredible. It's like watching a plant grow or anything like that. And it seems to be less and less common the further we advance with technologies and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to, like with everything you said, just say that just reminds me of that. This seems like a good kid. Oh, this seems like somebody who's hungry and interested. This seems like somebody that they've got all the basic tenets in place, right? They show up on time. They ask questions. They don't give you too much like negative feedback, and they're kind of like hungry and they want to do something. And then you get an opportunity to not only recognize that, but do something with it, and it becomes all about them.
Mhm.
And that's just, I don't know, cool stuff. I sometimes say gushy mushy, the stuff on the inside, like ogre first, and then the reality is big heart trying to make cool stuff happen. And when we talk about like manufacturing or anything else, I mean, even if it's cleaning up a facility, when somebody gets that kind of mentoring, that little bit of a nudge, that opportunity to learn and then go excel and make it their own, I mean, it all plays at all levels of everything that's happening, because any of this maintenance operations, what you do as a plant manager, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, if any of it stops, we all know, and I say this all the time, everybody's like, Greg, quit saying that. No, I'm going to keep saying it. If it stops, we got serious problems. It's
Yes.
really important stuff. So I want to switch this a little bit because a lot of times I want to bring in, things around CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, and it's really about the maintenance management in the middle. But without naming products, I think you've had plenty of experience with not only selecting but deploying CMMS platforms. And what I wanted to ask is there anything you could share when it comes to just general advice? It doesn't have to be perfect, but general advice when someone's out there looking for a CMMS. And then how have you had success getting team adoption of a CMMS, the utilization?
Okay. So for me, for CMMS, my first real interaction as a plant manager, small company, and they didn't really they had something that was a little difficult to use, a little challenging to get the information for. It worked great for a higher level, but when you're talking smaller and startup, you don't need that level of stuff that's capable of managing a global organization. So we started with that one, and what didn't get any buy-in. And the maintenance manager spent a lot of time fighting with the system because it wasn't built to what we needed, and it was built for something of a higher magnitude than we were as an organization. Went back out, requested something simpler because we needed the data from it. At the end of the day, we need the data from it to be able to understand where are we spending our time, what's being done, what's the frequency, how much money are we spending in certain areas, what do we need to look at things differently and make that decision. So I needed something simpler because that wasn't getting it to me. And I don't care how data hungry you are, if you're not getting the data from from your mechanics and it's being interpreted in the right way, you're never going to get anything. So we changed this other system, web based. I can sign on my phone, take a picture. And like first day I got it, I was like, I'm gonna go put a work order in. And at the time we were transitioning maintenance manager, so I was kind of filling in as maintenance manager at the time. I went out there, I made a work order. And I go look at the phone on the back end side, and there's the work order I just made. And there's a picture, and I circled it, and it was the basic thing in the world, but I had never had that before.
Yeah.
Every other place where I've been there, this was like, mind you, I had been at 3 or 4 other organizations, all Fortune 100s, and not a single one of them had something so simple. The previous organization before that, I had never written a single work order. Why? It was too hard. And you know what? Not that I'm above any of that, and I was the operations manager at the time. I just, you know, I just didn't want to because it was too hard. I wrote my first work order as a plant manager because it was so simple to do with this particular program. So I used it and I started it. I was like, look. When people would say, hey, go write a work order for this, before they wouldn't do that. Now they were just like, look, I'm doing it for you. And I showed them. And it got so much buy-in. And all of a sudden work orders start flying in. Then we still had to farm them out. And then you know how it is. You get some stuff that's probably not really a work order or maintenance request. It's just a complaint of some sort that is just something that's like, well, you can fix that yourself, it is what it is. We'll weed those out. I was just happy I was getting information. So
Yeah.
for me, that's CMMS. And right now in this organization, we use an Excel spreadsheet for our CMMS. Not what I need. I want simplicity. I want simple. If it's easy for my operators to write a work order request on it, that's what I want. If it's easy for my mechanic to open it up on their phone or a tablet and to see very simple terms, that's all they care about. I want it as simple as possible. I know in the world of maintenance, I'm like, well, I want it to say line one, I want it to say pasteurizer, I want it to say zone five, and I want it to say pump, right? And now you go down all those levels. By the time you get to that fifth level that you need data on before you get to do anything next, guess what? You've lost all your customers. People don't care. People do not care. They're not going to go that far. An operator is not going to go that far in granularity to start to tell you where the exact problem is. You know what? I'll figure that out later. Give me where the work order is. I can go on the back end and kind of fix some of that stuff, touch it up, and make it work. Because at the end of the day, I need to know that the pasteurizer has consumed 23 hours of my time in the past week and has caused me 23 hours of downtime. I need to get that fixed. I need to spend a lot more resources on that. Before, when you don't have that data coming in because it's too complex and the mechanic doesn't feel like filling out a work order because the tablet's not handy or whatever it is not handy, guess what? Oh, I only have 5 hours of pasteurizer. I'm not going to spend time on that. So for me, knowing the reality of the situation and simplicity, I'm going to get something. I know I'm not going to get all the granular details. It'll work on it. At least I have an idea. I can figure it out from there. So for me, when I'm looking at CMS, that's the top thing. And, in my shopping phase right now, I already said it. I want to see simplicity. I don't need me to go down through 7 sub menus to get to one thing and then finally type in my first set of words to say what the problem is and all these other complex things. So I'm all about simplicity. That's part of the military too with me. They always tell me in the military, KISS, right? Keep it simple, stupid.
There you go.
I'm a dumb Army guy. I'm more than happy with simplicity. I want everyone else around me to have simplicity.
Well, and the concept of simplicity is a hell of a lot more about, you think of something like Occam's razor or whatever. And what I'm talking about, everybody, is these concepts of like less moving parts. If you want to find the source, what's causing the problem, you're going to get there quicker when you can actually see what's happening. And if you're going through all these multiple levels, that's for somebody else that's taking a more advanced view. And it's not to say that we don't want our frontline workforce being able to accomplish that, but they don't have the actual time for that. And then from a leadership perspective, as we go further and further up the food chain, I'm just using that as a placeholder, right? I'm not saying people are above others. I'm saying when you're in that other part of the business organization, you need all that complexity. You need a different set of KPIs. But at the front line where everything is actually happening, you can better orchestrate if you make it possible for the front line to interact and tell you things. And if you take 5 minutes of their time to create one work order, it ain't going to happen. They can do so much in 5 minutes. They're not going to do it. And it's not because they don't want to go along. It's too disruptive to what they already know how to do. This is one of the things I'm always talking about is frontline workforce. And I don't care what the industry is. I really don't. People most typically want to do good work. There's plenty out there that are just collecting checks and whatever they got to do to get through it. We all have stories about that. But when they're bought in on the why, and they're bought in on or meeting them with that why, saying, hey, this is simple. 3 clicks, you're done. Boom, minute, you're done. Work order's in. It's got what we need. It's already connected to all the other crap you don't want to see, and we're good to go. I think those are some of the reasons a CMMS can be so powerful, but simplicity plays. And I know we don't talk about products, but the ones we're talking about, those enterprise level, super complex, you have to have a consultant or 10 to deploy and continue to use the damn thing. It's sold into a lot of the wrong environments. Mm-hmm. And if I'm going to call people out, I mean this in a general way. Yeah, you got to hit your numbers and sell some software, but are the people that have it really benefiting? I'm a big proponent of let's make sure we close that loop and get that elusive win-win type going. And you do it within your team environments too, right? Yep. If you, weird questions just popped into my head. This isn't written down or anything. When you're dealing with your teams in a plant and you have like somebody that's not necessarily following the protocols, going along with the kind of behaviors you're trying to kind of reinforce to keep the plant moving, hit our numbers, get people out on time, all this kind of stuff with production. Do you have any kind of strategies where you quickly identify that and then maybe take that person to the side and figure out what's going wrong? Or when you recognize it, is it more common that you would say, all right, that's a problem, not going to work out? What do you typically do with that? What I'm talking about is that potential, and then you're not seeing it and you want to try to bring it back for that person.
And my typical approaches and the things I expect from my leaders is when we're having this conversation and understand someone's coming along, hey, this person's not performing as expected. Have they had the conversation? Are they seeking to understand and to understand what our goal is? I consider myself a salesman to a point. I'm a terrible salesman. I would never, ever sell a car. But as a leader, I'm selling a concept and idea to them, and I want them to be bought into it. Like we talked about earlier, not everyone's be bought into what we're trying to produce or what we're selling. But we have to understand as leaders to recognize the ones that are bought in and understand, hey, look, you sound bought in. We have conversations. You're engaged in this. You want to see this thing be successful. You're in tune with your piece of equipment. How come you're not doing X, Y, Z? Getting that feedback from them to understand, why are we not doing it? Do you not want to? Is it too hard, or whatever reason? As leaders, we need to ask that, right? I think that's that level of engagement on us to understand why you're not doing what you're supposed to. It's not always inherently because, I don't feel like it. Well, there's a reason. Most people don't come into work and say, I don't feel like it. If it's too hard to do, we should recognize that as leaders and say, well, take me through the process. Do the process yourself. I love being on the floor. I spend a lot of my time on the floor. And guess what? I do the work myself. I will do the work myself because I want to see how it is. I'm inherently a man who wants to do it as simple as possible. And I hate doing extra work if I don't have to. So guess what? I'm going to go out there and do it myself. And when I look at it, I'm going to sit there and think, I don't like this. How can I do this easier? Because I've seen so many different things and experienced different things that I want to say, how can I incorporate that? Right. So at that point, now you're getting more buy-in. I understand, we do here at Wildpack, we do beverage repacks. So you get your variety packs. For all intents and purposes, everybody, when you make a variety pack, you have to touch every single can basically a second, third time to make your finished product, right? But think about that. We have 315 cases of a product here that we have to make a variety pack with, that we have to turn into 315 variety packs. It is so long and painful. All right, how do we make that something that's less painful, but at the same time, instead of just saying, give me 20 pallets and beating somebody, how do they make it more enjoyable experience? How do we make it something that people want to do, but understand the greater good to it? That salesmanship thing, selling them the idea that, look, this has to get done. This is going to be our biggest customer. We're going to do this great thing. They want more. We're going to sell more, but I need to do this. Get them bought in. Don't just tell them to make 20 pallets. Go out there and make 20 pallets with them. Watch how they're making it. Offer some improvements. Be out there, work with some of that stuff. Help them understand that the goals are achievable. And then work with them to understand, where is this going at the end? Cool, I made it. What does it become? It's my biggest customer. They have now bought in. They've signed an 18-month contract with us, and they're going to do this. And guess what? we've locked in a customer for 18 months because of this, because they appreciate what we're doing. Let's do it right. Gets them motivated, right? I'm a salesman. I'm selling the concept of what this is. If I'm just saying do it, they maybe don't want to do it. So guess what? They'll knock out 6. They'll knock out 7. It's a boring, repetitive job, but it's a necessary job because the way this is just the way it's just designed, So it's a lot of that, engaging the person, talking to them, and being out there. I'm not going to sit in this office right here and sit there and try to engage them on the floor from up here. It doesn't work like that. We all know that you need to be out on that floor. Well, I'm busy. I've got a lot of meetings. Guess what? Cancel them. Be out there. Engage with them. Say, see what's going on. Even the simple things as going back to maintenance, saying to them, hey, I got a problem over here, right? And maybe they already put in a work order for it, or make a work order request, but the mechanic forgot, or they're over there. It is what it is. Why don't we forget things? Hey, mechanic, come here. I'm there, right? As a plant manager, you know how it is. You got a little bit of sway with things. You can make things move up the list of relevance, right? Come here. Can you fix this, mechanic? Oh, yeah, I'll take care of it. Shh. They do their thing. Wow, you just bought into the fact that this person now knows you're there to support them. You took something that may have may not have gotten done. Now it just moved up. It got done. This now you've got 2 people bought into you. This guy you helped out, he oh, I'll help you. I wasn't that bad. And now this operator is now excited for the fact, like, look at this guy. He was out here. He took care of it for me. So it's that kind of thing that just drives that engagement and the people to want to work for you or with you on whatever it is we're trying to achieve.
And it's real because it's like anything else in life, right? When you're hired, employed, you're a tool of sorts. Yes, you're a human being, but the people that are part of this organization take that kind of go and see approach. They're out there on the floor with you. They're out there looking, seeing, and they're not they're not watching to jam you up. They're participating. And there's plenty of situations where those guys and gals don't get on the shop floor, but I think the difference in what you're talking about is, like, for me, when I was younger and I might be in a manufacturing environment or some other production related environment, because all of our jobs are production related in some way, shape, or form, when my boss or my, whatever you want to call them, was involved and cared to spend 5 minutes to go through something with me that I'm sitting here thinking, they think I already know this. I'm a little weak on this. I want some guidance and some insight, and I want to make sure I'm doing it right, or I want to know that they care. I start to see and feel that without even knowing it, and it makes me better. And they're investing that time in me, the people that see it, the organization that's doing it, and that all translates all the way down to your customer's experience, because you have multiple customers. You have customers here within the org. You have customers on the plant floor. You have machine operators. You got packagers. You got the warehouse, the shipping dock, all that, and on like that. And you also have customers that actually buy your products and keep you guys in business in the first place. So everything's connected. And this approach, even if you're not like soft about it, participating makes a huge impact. So I love that story. So when it comes to CMMS, bringing it back to the maintenance management software and people putting in their work orders, you're getting the inputs, you're leveraging it for preventive maintenance to keep machines and lines running longer and all that kind of stuff. Where would you say, just generally speaking, you get the biggest impact from where you're sitting right now? You're not out on the shop floor, you're in your office. And is there something about the CMMS that you could tell us makes the biggest impact in your day-to-day?
I think for me, I think it's the tying together of all the aspects of just, between the PM, the work orders, that downtime, that uptime, to me is the biggest thing, right? When the machine's not running, that's money not being made. That's not our success, right? But when you always look back, why am I not running? There's a multitude of reasons. But when you want to sit there and say, hey, within the realm of maintenance, how do I focus myself and focus my team? Because we want to win, right? But how do we understand where to focus if you don't have an area to focus on to win? And the CMMS ties that together for us to at least take out one of the multitude of variables on the line of why you didn't run. There could be quality issues. That's a different area than this, right? There could be other issues on the line, but when it comes to maintenance related stuff, the CMMS is the one that dictates that to us. It has the raw data for us to say, hey, how do I use this and recognize, how do I focus this? so we can win together, and then get our team out on the floor to understand that as well and hear that, to say, how do I focus on this and get there and win together? So when you're looking at that, because as I look at myself as a plant manager, I'm a leader. People want to win. How do I help them win? How do I sell them on the concept we're going to win together? Well, let's understand from the maintenance side that putting in your work orders, doing all that stuff gives me the data, which then I can focus my effort and say, hey, look, now I need a $50,000 CapEx project. Maybe I need to replace that piece of equipment, right? So that helps me understand what am I going to do to increase reliability so that I can increase that productivity and then increase everything else that comes with it. And then we can win, right? Hey, Mark, I set a target of 65% OEE. Okay. We're losing 25% because of maintenance related issues. How do we do that? Well, how do we get a preventive maintenance program to kind of prevent those things? Can we do those things on the weekend? Can we do these things at night? Right here, we don't run a third shift. We do sanitation at night. That's our opportunity. Let's get ahead on preventive maintenance and all those things, So knowing where my challenges are and then say, what can I use for more preventive maintenance? What can I do for things in that avenue just to get us up running and winning? I think it's the biggest reason I use CMMSs.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's all these debates about whether you really need a CMMS or not to create an environment of maintenance excellence, maintenance and reliability. And there's kind of two ways to answer it. Not necessarily, but if you've got the right things in place, the people, the process, the culture, and you add that technology to it, provided you're in an environment that can justify the expense of the technology and can see the upside of the ROI and all these great things that it does for you, man, now you're cooking and you can get into that position of, the pinnacle, depending on size of the organization, you can ultimately start this pursuit towards continual process improvement, right? Optimization, like real optimization, where now every single day we just look for ways to get better. We've kind of, dealt with the firefighting. We've moved away from the blocking and the well, actually, I got to change that. We're doing maintenance properly so that we're not doing unnecessary repairs to then keep that machine like really, really running. Doesn't mean you're going to make the activities of maintenance go away. You're just going to eventually be in a place to do them better and better and better. And you're doing a hell of a lot more strategizing than you are constantly putting out fires. The firefighting is what just kills everybody. And again, I want to qualify that there are environments where run to failure and a little bit more firefighting, I'm going to say, kind of makes sense. I don't want to pretend to be an expert on that, but this is awesome. So I want to ask you, this is kind of a tough question, but I think you're the guy to answer it. When it comes to CMMS providers out there, people that provide these solutions, can you give me, of these providers in the world, an example of what it looks like when they get it right? And I also want an example of what it looks like when they get it wrong, what they're not doing for their clients.
So I think I talked about it a little bit. I think the thing that gets it right is just that ease of use, regardless of the capability. I've had some great maintenance managers that have worked for me that have great data and management ability, and that's great and all, but it needs to work for all different levels. We have different people. There's some great hands-on maintenance managers that are really good in the trenches, and maybe their data and their CMS ain't as strong. How do we work it towards both of those, right? You're going to have those two different abilities, right? So, those are the ones to me that are most ideal when you're managing both ends. How do you make it user friendly enough that they can do it, but still get the KPIs that you need? The ones to me that don't work so well is just that the one, like you mentioned earlier, when you need a multitude of consultants to bring it in and it's a single location or maybe two locations and you need that many people. I don't think that's the right way. And it's driven from the top down, not from the bottom up. And those are the biggest things to me. So when it comes to me here, I'm sure at some point in the next couple of weeks, I'm gonna get a couple of people that we're going to talk to. Some of them are going to be from my past that were kind of, we'll see. And guess what? At the end of the day, I'm going to ask the same thing I'm saying right now. I want simplicity. How does this work? Right? My maintenance manager now, he's really, really good. He's really in the trenches, right? But I want to make sure that what this is built is going to work for him, and it's easy to extract data from it without having to go overboard and digging through things and pushing out weird reports into weird formats. I don't need all that. It goes back to that simplicity. It needs to be simplicity for a plant manager to look at quick, a maintenance manager to look at quick, and then an easy way for that operator on the floor to know that I've made a request, and within a timely manner, my request is being honored. And it should all be relatively simple process. That the one I had it, a couple jobs ago, like the one after I made the work order, I signed it on the phone to the mechanic right there. And I was just like, wow, it's just simplicity in its finest. It
Yeah.
really was. So I think those are the things that set a good CMS apart from one that's just not made. It needs to be tapered to the organization.
Yeah.
A big boy, get a big boy. Get a big boy thing, because guess what? You're talking really big things. But when you're talking small organizations, less than 500 people, there's a different set of CMSs for me for that. And I've seen where the big boy CMS tries to come in and be like, I'm still good for you. Like, yeah, you're good, but when am I in the next 10 years going to achieve what you could be with everything? So I think as maintenance managers, plant managers, and we need to make those decisions and say this CMS works for what it is, and it's going to work for at least a couple of years ahead. I'll figure it out a few more years from now to get this next big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all of this, and we could really spin out on this, and I could start, like calling people out on different things I think they need to do. And what I'm trying to do is I want to tell the customer journey stories. I want experts like you that can talk about what it's like, a day in the life, walking in those shoes, getting out on the plant floor, whipping out a mobile. Can I say whipping out on this podcast? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're lickety split, creating a work order, boom, now you're going to use it. You're going to get those inputs. You can get those outcomes, those outputs that you really want, so you can drive that process forward. Anything else just isn't going to work. And I want to switch us now to what I call the fun question segment for first time guests on CMMS radio. So first fun question: what is your favorite music?
Everyone says whenever I say it, I love EDM music. I have loved EDM music since I was young. I absolutely love it. And when people hear me and they get into my car and it's still on from listening in the morning, like, "What are you listening to? This? Really? You listen to this?" Like, I've been listening to it for a really long time, and I love it. So yeah, love electronic dance music, all
Nice.
dance remix, everything like that. It's a weird one for me. People don't ever see it. Whenever they hear me it on in the car, they're like, "I did not expect this from you." Like, sorry, I don't know. I love it.
Hey,
It's what gets me hyped up. It's what gets me going in the morning for that long drive in.
yeah, yeah. So this is weird. I don't usually add on to somebody's question if I can avoid it, but for some reason it popped into my head. Maybe it's our hairdos, but you know who Vanderlei Silva is? UFC mixed martial artist.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep.
So he used to walk out and he's cranking his wrists because he's getting loose because he's called the Axe Murderer. That was his nickname. And he came out to a pretty strong common EDM tune that was pretty hyped up. So it just popped into my head. Just sharing that. I might cut it. I don't know. Next fun question. What is your favorite sport or hobby? And on the sport, it doesn't have to be one that you play. It could be one you like to watch, support, favorite team kind of a deal. But you don't have to tell us your favorite team. What's your favorite sport or hobby?
Favorite sport is I love football, and I know when people meet me, I've gotten big. I bulked up. I never played football in my entire life. I've had people come up to me like, "You look like you were a tight end at some point." I was like, "Nope, never played it. I never played it." I wish I did. I didn't know I had this in me as far as the size. And I've been working out for almost 20 years now. When I went to Afghanistan the second time, things got a little slow. So me and my buddies, we used to go to the gym a lot. And when he came back, I bulked up quite a bit. And I was just like, I worked hard for this. I want to keep it up. So I love football, but I also love hitting the gym, and that's one of my favorite hobbies. I really have to do it every, 5 times a week, pretty much. I get in there. I just love doing it, and if I take a couple days off, like I feel bad. Like I don't feel right. I just love it. I just love working out. I love watching myself get new gains. And I started later in life. Unfortunately, I wish I would have seen 18, 22-year-old me doing what I'm trying to do now. And, like I'm trying to go to the 1,000 pound club for powerlifting, which is 1,000 pounds of squat, deadlift, and bench. It's a struggle. I bet you 22-year-old me could have done it. But it's something I want to do. It's a goal. So for me, it's football is my favorite. Go Birds! I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, and my favorite thing is just weightlifting. Oh,
Yeah, I had to do it. It's okay, man. Okay, we all got our teams, and we all know pain in one way or another. But
Yeah, we
uh,
do. We all do.
here's the big one. Fun question number 3. What is your philosophy, perspective, opinion on work-life balance?
I I don't think I have a philosophy. There's that balance, and I don't know what it is. For me, I don't have any children, just me and my wife, so I kind of have a little more freedom than others. That's just working things out. So for me, there's a balance enough of between my wife's work schedule and my work schedule that those two things just balance them out enough to work themselves out. So it's it depends on the location. And as a job is I've grown up within, the levels from a supervisor to where I am now as a plant manager. It's become, something harder to manage. But I think it's something you build yourself the right team. It really makes a difference in that work life balance. So indirectly, what you're doing at work really does impact what your work life balance is. You build yourself a really good team, a really good operations manager, good supervisors, good team leads, good operators, weed out you just are gonna see those great things happen where you don't have to worry. A couple jobs ago, I used to worry about all the time what's going to happen on the weekend. Like, oh my God, I don't want this text message to go off. Please don't ring on the weekend. That messes with my work life balance. But building a really good team, building a good maintenance program that takes care of the place so it takes care of itself on the weekend, you don't have to worry about those things. And look, I understand it's manufacturing, those things are going to happen. But if they're happening every single weekend and it's affecting your life balance, that's the stuff that it's like, no, you got to build that right team at work so it can be managed correctly. Get the right people on board so then it affects your work-life balance in a more positive way. So indirectly, I guess my philosophy is just more so do what I do at work normally, be the great leader that I am, try to be the great leader that I am, and build my team around me. So then when it comes to the weekend, luckily this job, we don't work on weekends, but hey, I want it to grow to the point that we do, that I trust the people around me that they don't really have to call me unless they absolutely have to in an emergency situation, because I've trusted that now my work life balance is at that really good spot.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole idea behind the fun question segment and having that as number 3 is there's no wrong answers. And this is possibly going to help somebody, or they might say, yeah, I kind of agree with that. Or no, I don't think that's right. You got to do it like this or that. And we're just getting people thinking. We don't want that ability to take in what you're saying and then critically think about it to go away. So we're kind of keeping that alive too, because all the opinions, philosophy, some people are like, yeah, there's no such thing. And other people are like, yeah, it's critical, or no, I like to call it harmony. We're just learning more about you and some things that might help one person out there. And that's all that matters. So I want to let everybody know you can find Mark Gonzalez on LinkedIn. It's Mark, M-A-R-K, and it's Gonzalez, Gonzalez. He's on LinkedIn. If you want to find him, connect with him. And if you want to check out Wild Pack Beverage, you can do that at www.wildpackbev.com. Mark Gonzalez, thank you for joining me on CMMS Radio.
Thank you for having me. This is just really is a delight. I enjoyed it.
This episode is sponsored by Upkeep, purpose-built for maintenance, reliability, and operations teams. Our mobile-first CMMS and asset operations management solution puts work orders, inventory, and asset info in the palm of your hand. Designed for ease of use and adoption, Upkeep aligns your team for peak business performance. Transform your operations, transform your success with the multi-platform solution of Upkeep. Visit upkeep.com/CMMSradio to receive a dedicated custom discovery session. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.